I became a traveler just after college, living abroad and taking any job to keep me on the road. That's me working a cheeky donut shop in Australia, teaching English in Vietnam, and becoming a tie-dye instructor in the Rocky Mountains. And that one time, I had to hitchhike through New Zealand after some French girls quite literally kicked me to the curb. Yeah, my 20s were one hell of an adventure. For the past 3 years, I've been on a journey living off-grid full-time in my truck camper. I'm currently in Central Oregon for the summer, and like usual, things never go to plan. Today I'm going to share the story of when I used to live in my Honda Element. This was, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Gosh, I don't know, time goes by these days. So I bought the Honda Element on Craigslist in New Orleans, and my dad helped me build it out, which was really nice because he passed away, I don't know, maybe a year later, and so it was a good memory to have. The reason I got the Honda Element was I saw a video of a girl who was into rock climbing, and it was so cute. She was talking about dumpster diving, and she lived in a Honda Element, and I thought that it would be a affordable first camper for myself. And it was.
Baked goods. There's nothing I won't eat unless my body responds to it, like the smell. It's amazing how much we've stepped away from our natural instincts. I think at the end of the day, we're animals. We have instincts. We can tell through sight and smell and touch whether or not something is bad. That's not a tried and true rule. I would say be aware of more or less when it was thrown away. Just be cognizant of that. You can look at the expiration date. It probably is irrelevant. I was looking for a vehicle for maybe a month. I wanted to hit the road really fast. I had money already saved up, and so I was itching to go. I liked how the Element utilized all of the space. So it didn't have any features just to look cool or interesting. It's probably the ugliest car, but it's ugly for a purpose.
So I sold my Nissan Altima, which in hindsight, that was a great car. It had a V6 in it, and I think it was a 3.5 liter engine. It was such a fast and powerful car, and I sold it, and then I got that Honda Element, or I think I got the Honda Element and then I sold it. After me and Dad built it out, I drove up to Colorado, and I took, I think, about a month to drive up. I drove up to Estes Park, Colorado, and worked as a tie-dye instructor at the YMCA. I got the job on Cool Works. While I was in the camper, I was making money by teaching English online, and it was so difficult. It was such a cramped little space, and I'm trying to do my teaching early in the morning because I'm trying to coordinate with time zones in China. All of the students were in China, and it was more like surviving in the Honda Element. It was not this comfortable existence I have now where it feels like I'm home anywhere. It felt like I've got a bed to sleep in at night. And I mean, that's how car camping is. It's it should not have been, I did not enjoy doing it for a long stint of time, and it was hard to cook. I didn't really have any spot to cook, and I had a little portable stove, and it definitely makes me think of, I feel like I live in my truck camper, and I felt like I lived out of my Honda Element. But at the time, I was just doing the best I could with the money I had. I wasn't able to figure out where and how to find design clients at the time, and agencies were not wanting to give me freelance work, or they just weren't responding to my emails. And so with the money I could make teaching English, that was the best I could do, and it kept me on the road. But it really informed me that I wanted something that I could stand up in and I could live in, something cozy that felt like home, and not like, I realized that my Honda Element would have had to have been for trips and not for full term. Anyone who does do it for a long period of time in a little Honda Element, like, kudos to you, that's tough. But I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. I thought it was so cool and so much fun to be able to see people have these little mini campers in their Honda Element, and then for me to actually get to have that experience, I was just like so tickled. And then in Colorado, I hit a deer and I cracked the radiator, and then I didn't know that I cracked the radiator, and I started to drive my vehicle back home because my dad had just been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and so I wanted to move back home and hang out with him, and I blew a head gasket, and then I sold the Honda Element in Denver for like $800 on the spot. And then I hitchhiked to a friend of a friend's house that I'd never met before, and I ended up staying at their house. And then the next day I drove a vehicle down to Alabama that was like a random guy that I had met. And I actually met this guy at a Whole Foods happy hour, and he let me drive his, well, I think he needed to move the vehicle like down south a bit. So anyways, it was actually really random, and I drove that car down back to Alabama, and about a month, maybe a couple months later, he randomly like messages me, and he's like, okay, I'm coming down to get the vehicle. And so I was like, oh crap, like I hadn't arranged another vehicle. I was driving it around a bit, and he came and picked up the vehicle, and I bought a little Yamaha Vino scooter, and that got me around for a little while. And then I bought a Nissan Xterra, and then I bought, right before my trip where I moved to Washington, I bought a little Lincoln, and I just sold the Lincoln about a year ago. So it was kind of like the start of a bunch of different vehicles, but it was an adventure for sure. All right, I'm headed to, I've been like making these clips at random times, obviously, but I'm headed to the store, and I'm gonna get some groceries. I'm totally out of everything. And then I'm gonna do a group bike ride. I'll admit it to you guys, I've not been very social lately. Well, I totally forgot to end the video. So that's it. That's the story of my Honda Element. I will see you guys next week. I am headed back home to Alabama to visit my family, and I'm so excited. I got my generator running right now. It is hot. Hope you're having a wonderful summer. See you next time. Bye.